All right. Hey, dope people. It's your girl Paisley. I'm the Mindset Makeover Maven and the Dope Life Movement Creator. And we are getting ready for another episode Sippin and Soul Speak. So you know what to do. If you are joining us live, make sure that you drop your heart emojis down below. And if you're catching us upon the replay, make sure you drop your number twos in the comments down below. And don't forget to tell us what you're sipping on because we want to know, we want to know, we want to know. Today is the final episode in our Love and Legacy series. On tonight, I have with us Mr. Eric Mitter, and I also have Devin Adams from Mala Mia Mezcal. What's up, guys?
How you doing?
I am
Going
super
on?
fantastic and wonderful.
Amazing. Me too. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. Let me make sure that this thing is on and I can see people if they come in their comments and all that good stuff. Okay, perfect. Got that. And then there we go. All right. So I am super excited about Malamia. We featured you guys in our gifting, our holiday gifting episode because you have this beautiful gift set. And so we featured that on Sippin' and Soul Speak back in the end of November, I think. But we made a cocktail, but we were featuring a lot of stuff. Now we actually get into it and we get to actually chat with Devin, who is the owner. You know, this is Love and Legacy, and we root for everybody that's Black. So it's all we've been featuring all Black owned brands this month. And so I'm excited to know that there's a Black owned mezcal. Um, so, funny story. I had not met a mezcal that I liked, and so we, for those of us who don't know, right? All tequila is mezcal, but all mezcal is not tequila. So we, but you know, from a traditional mezcal, I was like, I don't know. I just hadn't found a mezcal that I really liked. I was like, it tastes like I should take this because I'm sick. And finally I've like just keep trying different things because there may be something out there that you like. Now you guys, Devin, have four expressions.
That's right. We have four expressions with a fifth coming in April.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
we have an Espadine and Yeho, but for now we have four. Yep.
Okay. So you have the Espadine, which you just mentioned, and you're coming out with an añejo, but we have the Espadine. Um, Tell me how to say this.
It's the quiche.
The quiche.
That's right.
And then in the set, we have the quiche, the ensemble, and the tepestate.
That's right.
So um, I I know we did a riff on a Negroni, like a
Nice.
mezcal, a smoked mezcal Negroni during the holiday gifting episode, and that was delicious.
Glad you
So
enjoyed it.
um so I'm actually going to try both of these on tonight, and then I'm going to make a cocktail. What are you guys over there sipping on while I pour it up over here?
I
I got
think
a
I'm the
nice.
only outsider. Oh, no, go
Oh,
ahead, Devin. You
go
go
ahead, Eric.
first.
Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm just sipping on a Oaxaca Mule with our classic Espadine, little Barrett's ginger beer, 1.5 ounce of mezcal, some lime juice, and a little bit of agave nectar. Perfect.
Okay. So this is the quiche that I'm going to try first. And Eric, what do you have over there?
Well, I'm the outsider. I have some good old Uncle Nearest that I am going to sip on this evening. But she never lets me down. So
That's how I feel about tequila. She's my good girlfriend. She never lets me down.
never lets me down. She never disappoints.
Never disappoints. Always come through when I need you. So
Shout out to Fawn Weaver.
this is the quiche. So I can smell the smokiness. So mezcal traditionally it is, and Devin, I'll let you tell a little more about that. That there's a
Sure.
difference because of the way that the so there's all different kinds of agave for those of you who didn't know. But the way that the agave is like it's roasted and all of
Okay.
that, it gives mezcal its smoky flavor. So what made you decide like I want to do mezcal?
Yeah, so I actually got into the beverage industry first at large and was looking to coming from law while I was in law school, I was doing a lot of regulatory work, knew I wanted to get into the alcohol industry. And so I was really interested in just brand building in general. I went down to Oaxaca and I actually met my mezcalero. And the first conversation that we had, he was looking for somebody to help him import his mezcal and make a brand. And I was looking for somebody's mezcal to make a brand around. So it was really a serendipitous moment. We actually started, to do business together the very first day we met. And for me, when I went to Oaxaca on this 2-week trip, I had been drinking mezcal for a little while. I came from whiskey as well, but I really just was looking for a lighter, like feeling, a lighter drink, a little bit more energetic. And so I felt like mezcal had enough flavor, but it was a bit different. But when I went to Oaxaca, I found out that there's 37 different agaves that mezcal can be made from. And the agave is like the apple. Each one of them, if we turn them into apple juice, has a totally different flavor profile. So, you got a Granny Smith, you got a Red Delicious, you got a Fuji. And these agaves that we have today represent this same kind of diversity, just like with the different types of wine. So that's where I really saw an opportunity to tell a story to the market of like, hey, people are kind of really binary about their experience with mezcal. They either say that they like it or they don't like it.
Right. There's no in
And
between.
that's it, right? I haven't met a lot of people
Devin, do
who.
me a favor, slide over just a little bit because I'm seeing. There we go. All right, go
There
ahead.
we go. Sorry. So yeah, when I started to taste the different agave expressions, I felt like there was an opportunity to tell a story that all mezcal is not created equal. Perhaps if you like mezcal, then you want to go deeper and try some of these other flavors. And if you don't like mezcal, maybe it's just that you didn't like that particular flavor, and that there are other types that may suit you. So we have 4 expressions: the Espadín, which is our basic model. We use a process. So in the beginning of the mezcal process, the agaves are roasted so they become soft enough to mash and to get the juices out of them. In tequila, they're generally steamed instead. That's why it's got a kind of a cleaner taste and it's not smoky. But instead of steaming them for mezcal, they usually roast them for 4 to 7 days, depending on what you do. But for us, we use a special part of our process that makes ours like light smoke, because that's part of the process. I always joke that it's like barbecue. It's like barbecue is gonna be barbecue, but there's a difference between char grilled and then smoked, and there's also a difference with just coming off the grill. So we like to have a light smoke, the Espadín, and then the quiche has been a big crowd favorite for us. Rolling Stone Mezcal of the Year for Esquire. Rolling Stone won a bunch of awards, and that's what you're sipping right now. Can you tell us what do you think about the flavor profile?
So, of course, like I said, you can smell the smokiness of it. And so it's very smooth, but it's also on the back end, you get a little, I don't know, like almost pepper on the back end of it. But on the front end, it's very, very smooth, almost. It's like I taste a little fruit on the front and then a little pepper on the back.
Okay. Yeah, we like to think about the flavor notes for this one as pear, honeysuckle, caramel. So you get that sweetness on the front, but then you get that more herbal kind of flavor on the back end, a little bit peppery, a little bit. I just always think of it just as like a very green flavor, just tastes like a
Yeah.
green bell pepper almost. And so this particular mezcal does really well in things that you want to turn into more of a herbal kind of, green kind of feel. So we see a lot of The Last Word, a lot of spicy margaritas. We see a lot of Moscow mules or Oaxaca mules with the quiche, but also a lot of people who like to just sip it straight or neat. And a lot of
Mhm.
the comments that I get from the quiche are from people who usually don't like mezcal. The quiche usually really resonates with them.
Okay, I'm a fan.
Appreciate you.
So now I'm going to get into this espadín. And
Espadine.
I know, so, and what I do love too is that on your bottles, right, you show what the agave plant looks like. And I love that you gave the analogy of an apple, right? Because don't give me a red delicious. I don't want it. I don't like it. It's I don't know why they make them.
Right. I get it.
but but there's somebody else who loves red delicious, right? And so like on this one, on the quiche, you have it's a completely different looking plant, right? And so I think that we don't really know that a lot when because I think a lot of we're so into tequila and the blue agave and so on and so forth that we're not exposed to the fact that there's all of these different varieties of agave that make all of these different that have all of these different flavor profiles that give us um, the mezcals that are out here. We just think like if you just had the first time I had it, I was like, this is dicks.
Yeah, I totally get it. And, I always mess with people too with tequila. I've known tequila my whole life. Like even when I was a little kid, it was like one tequila, two like in the cartoons and everything. And so I think it's important to know that, tequila has been, waging a 50-year war on our minds, and they finally won in the last 10 years. So I think that's very fascinating to have watched. Kind of like it used to be, I know in my 20s it was like, no, man, I can't have that. Like, certainly it wasn't everybody going to the bar getting a tequila soda. So I think the cool thing is that as the spirits go through their life cycles, they find their place. And so I'm hoping really just to offer people a more premium and a more elevated mezcal option instead of just the basic mezcal that's out there. So
Yeah, mezcal is up.
for sure.
So this doesn't have as smoky aroma.
Okay.
That's nice. So
Got
it doesn't have as much of the spice on the back end as the quiche does.
it. Okay.
Um, and I could definitely see this lending itself to a lot of different types of cocktails. Um,
Yeah, our Espadine is like the queen of the chessboard. You can sub it margarita, Negroni. It's usually the base for most of the mezcal cocktails, and I think it has like a, nice bit of smokiness, but not overwhelming, right? When you
yeah,
say. And then I think the flavor notes for this one are mandarin, like that nice citrusy kind of orange feel, slate with a little bit of minerality, and I think you get a little woodiness, a little pine, on the back end.
for sure. Hmm. I don't know that I have a favorite because I think they're I'm a mood person too. Like I sit by what mood I'm in.
Right.
So I could see that if it was a nice spring day, like it is in winter today here in the DMV, because I'm like, where am I? If it's a nice spring day and I want to sit out and have sip, I could sip the espadine like literally straight on a nice day, sit outside on some ice. This would be something that I would go to. I feel like the quiche, I would definitely. It gives more. Um, I feel like I could even pair this with a cigar.
Hmm.
So it's more, it's stronger. It's, you know, it has more presence, if you will,
Sure.
right? And
I
so
agree.
I feel like that would be something that I would be like, okay, this is the day that I'm kind of winding down my day
I get
is
you.
where I feel like that's taking me.
That's like
But
a little bit more hearty of an experience. I feel you.
absolutely, like I'm a more like if I do smoke cigars, I'm a Maduro smoker. So I like that full, but I like my wines to be full body. That Quisha's giving me like all of that. Like it's strong, it's here, it's got a big back.
Absolutely. Like you know
So
that like, whoa, okay. This is like but I feel like it's 41% ABV, so it's not like, strong, but it's just like you said, it's
it
full.
has a presence, and that's what I mean when I say strong. I don't mean like it's ooh, but it has a strong presence. It's like I'm here, I'm in the room. So I think I'm going to, so Devin, you tell me, I'm going to make a Mezcal Paloma. You tell me which
Fantastic.
one I should use.
Um, for the Paloma, I would go with the Espadine. It's gonna deliver you the right kind of Paloma feel that you're going. If you put the quiche in the Paloma, it's also nice, but it's gonna turn into like an extra fruit flavor, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So like the quiche,
I'm gonna go with what you said.
because it's the quiche has got that presence, so you really feel the presence in a cocktail. So I think the Espadine goes really well with the Paloma. It'll be nice.
So I have my grapefruit juice in my little shaker. I just put some ice in here. I put a little lime, and I'm gonna put a little bit of soda. I don't normally put soda in mine, but I'm gonna top it with a little soda. So
There you go.
here we go.
That was super quick. That's amazing. That's expert level stuff right there. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I'd already have my juice in the shaker.
Oh, so I was about to say, sheesh. That's that magic.
And I already have my garnish on my glass here. So got me a little grapefruit slice, and I'm just gonna put it in here because I don't like my stuff falling off when I'm drinking. Ooh, yep. So this is, yeah, it's given just like a perfect balance to the grapefruit and the light smoke of the mezcal. This is good.
Appreciate you. I'm glad you like it. Heart warms my heart.
Yeah. I love a good Paloma. I don't know when I fell in love with Palomas. I believe I was in Texas, and somebody gave me a Paloma and I was like, I like this. So yes, I do enjoy a good Paloma. So this Mezcal Paloma, it like the little bit of smoke just does something to it. I probably should have salted my rim, which would have given me a little something more, but
Okay.
this is doing it. I feel like though the quiche might have given it a little more, almost like a spicy Paloma.
Yeah, like I mean, it definitely changes the profile. So it's like if you're going for a classic Paloma, you know what you're gonna get. It's gonna be that with the Espadine, a little bit of smoke, just what you think of like a really good, Mezcal Paloma.
Yep.
Quiche, on the other hand, like I said, it's like adding another fruit juice to the mix, you know.
Mhm.
So it really adds and plays with the flavor. I actually like the ensemble and the Paloma. My favorite is the best
Okay.
because the ensemble is made from 60% of the espadín, 20% quiche, and 20% of the tepestate. So it's got a very like, you know, full flavored experience there. So
Ah,
yeah.
I'm
So
gonna have to try that one day. We'll talk
yeah,
about it another day.
yeah, absolutely. So, but the espadín, fantastic. Can't go wrong with it. It's usually around 44.99 to 48.99 on the shelf. Great, looks good. Bring it to any party. You
Listen,
know,
the bottles are these are like I love a nice bottle because the weight of the bottle itself, the color of the bottles with the gold writing, they just really give you an elevated experience, right? It's going to look good on your bar, and the liquid inside is actually also good. so so nobody's going to be mad at you when you bring a bottle that looks like this to the shindig, right?
I
to the
agree.
to the cookout or the cotillion or wherever you going.
I always joke
Like,
with people that, sometimes they're like, man, so basically people's question to me a lot is like, how did the black man get into the mezcal game? Right. And my thing is like the blackest part of this, or the really where I feel like the culture shines through is in the bottle design, right? With the help of a couple of different, design firms, we were able to go through 30, 35, I think we went through 38 total iterations of like different colors for the bottles, different, fonts, and the gold, and then two-tone. But ultimately that's where I feel like we know that we're present. We got the style in it, you know what I'm saying? And
absolutely, like you
that's what
have
makes it,
the
look totally different from the rest of the bottles on the market.
absolutely, and I think you have like your writing is definitely giving me for the culture.
For sure.
So that font is for us. Um, and your logo here, that's all for us. Um, and then so in Espanol, mala mia, it means my bad.
Exactly.
So, so what made you decide I'm gonna name my liquid my bad?
Well, it's actually, at first it was like, man, Mala Mia Mezcal, that sounds so nice. And as we started to think about it, my bad, it's like, really, we just want to say, like, my bad for changing your mind. It's my bad for
Like
being
it.
unapologetic about your artistry, being unapologetic about, whatever it is, really just being unapologetic about your own taste, right? We invite you to try these different types. It's okay for you to say that this one is your favorite. If somebody else's is their number four, it doesn't matter, right? Mala Mia, this is the one I like. This is the one I'm going with, and so that's really the way that we see it. It's just that we want people to be able to have that ownership and feel like, hey, this is what I like. Don't blame
I,
me.
I
It's
I
my
love
palate.
it. I love it, and it's on theme for me for this year because my theme for 2025 is unapologetically upward. So, Mala Mia, we up.
We up. That's it. Like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry you see me sitting over here on the shelf looking
I'm
nice.
sorry, not sorry.
Not sorry. So that's where we got the Mala Mia from.
I love that. I love that, Devin. Thank you so much for joining us for Sippin' and Soul Speak on tonight. Thank you for sharing Mala Mia with us. Guys, if you want to get Mala Mia, go into your local restaurants, go into your local liquor stores and ask for it by name. And then if you are in the DMV, please go to LAX in Beltsville. They are carrying Mala Mia currently on the shelf. So if you want to run out and get you, now which expressions do they have? Do you know?
They have the Espadine, but if you'd like to try any of the others, Christian just said ask him and he'll bring them some in.
Absolutely. So, guys, make sure you go run to Lax in Beltsville in Maryland, and you can get the Espadine And if you want something else, we'll talk to Christian about it. So making sure that we get what the people want, right,
That's right.
in there, so that you can try it, and really support, right? And if you don't remember, just go to delaceypaisley.com, sign up for our newsletter. We'll send you the information and all of that good stuff, so you know where to get these great finds that we have, so that you can enjoy what we're enjoying. All right. Well, Devin, again, I thank you so much for participating in Sippin' and Soul Speak. I thank you for sharing your story with us and your products with us on our last episode of the Love and Legacy series for Sippin' and Soul Speak on 2025. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Y'all have a great night. Can't wait to hear the rest of the conversation.
You too.
Later.
All right, Mr. Mitter. What'd he do?
Guilty as charged. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Listen, I know you were on the panel for the last relationship series that we had on Sippin' and Soul Speak. It was you and Shaka and Nika, and we had some great conversations. But I was like, I promise, I left that series like, oh my gosh, if I never do another relationship series again in my life, it'll be too soon.
It was fun. It was fun.
We had a great time. I just was just like, oh my gosh, you know, relationships are hard, and in general, right? And then I think that we sometimes we make it too divisive, especially in our community when we do these kinds of things. So what we're closing out with tonight is our topic is about being compatible or having chemistry, right? And and so a lot of times it's an interesting concept and question, right? Because a lot of people feel like, oh, well, I need to have chemistry, and other people feel like we need to be compatible, like similar to each other. And I think that compatibility, and I don't think it's an either or per se. Um, and for some people, one is more important than the other. What's your take on that?
Well, I've given this a lot of thought since I saw our topic, and I think we need both. I think in the beginning, I think we need to find compatibility, because that will determine whether or not we want to go forward. The problem, or what makes it so tough, I think, is I don't want to revert back to our previous conversations, but a lot of times people aren't honest about what they want and what they're looking for. So it just makes it a challenge. But I do think people want to be with somebody that they feel like they're compatible with, because it's hard when you have a real difference of opinion on any number of things: religion, money, even sports teams. Like, there are things that will divide you, that your chemistry cannot overcome. So if you find somebody that you have enough in common with, then I think the chemistry takes over and the two of you figure out how to make it work. And I think that's where the chemistry drives sort of that relationship part of it. I think with the compatibility piece, you're trying to figure out, do I want to be around this person? Right? Do I want to share space? Do I want to share time, resources? And then once you make that decision, the chemistry really lets you know, like, okay, I think we got enough in common to find out if we really vibe, if we really have a connection. And then, what can we get from this? Is this going to be long term? Is this going to be something that we're just trying to see what sticks. But I do think you need both. I think you do need a little bit of both to get where you want to be if the ultimate goal is to be in a good, solid, healthy, non-toxic relationship.
Not put me down twice for non-toxic.
I was trying to avoid it as long as I could, but I was like, it's so important now. I don't know if it's an age thing or what,
Well,
but
and I think, I think toxic is like a trigger word now for people, and in some instances it's overused, right? But
right.
there's dead ass some people out here who are toxic.
Yeah.
Right?
It's
And
what they
and
know. It's what they're used to.
some people are intentionally toxic and unknown, and then you have those who are unknowingly toxic, right? But I do, I love what you said about like the compatibility and then the chemistry together, right? They can make for a great situation and relationship. Um, I was chatting with someone one day, and they were telling me about a person that they knew who had said that there was a person that was great for on paper, right? They said on paper, you're amazing. And but so there was I like this person and on paper they're great, but I went with this person because it gave them that tingle, that thing, right? And 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 I'm like, that's interesting, right? Especially at a certain age, because we're talking about people in their 40s, 50s, whatever. I think if you're over 35, right there, you looking at things a little differently.
No different.
And
Yeah.
so, when we're 19, we're like, ooh, you give me butterflies or whatever. And that's enough. But as you grow and you mature and you realize, hey, butterflies may not necessarily be enough, then you're like, am I compatible with this person? Like, do we do we have similar standards, right? Do we have similar morals? Even like to your point, like if religion is important to you, is is it important to them, and or how does it work together? Because a lot of times people think compatible means same,
Right.
and it doesn't
Yep.
mean same, right? It can mean that you you want to go to the church every time the door is open, and I do not. However, I'm okay with you going every time the door is open, as long as you don't expect me to be there.
Right.
Right. And so that could be a level of compatibility that works in that particular relationship. And I think a lot of times people are looking for someone, like people to be same. We're never going to be same. And even if we are same today, in 5 years, I promise you, if we're growing, we're probably not going to be same anymore. We're going to be similar. Right?
Right.
Because things happen, right? I know that when my mom passed, it my outlook on a lot of things changed,
Yeah.
right? So as you grow and you have life experiences, you're not going to be the same person, or you shouldn't be the same person that you were before. And sometimes it's for the good, sometimes not so much. But I think we have to figure out, how do we is there enough chemistry there to kind of get us through those peaks and valleys that we have when one is up and one is down, or whatever that looks like, because that's important. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, everybody wants what they want. I think I think the thing that prevents people from being successful in relationships is I don't think they're honest with themselves about what they really want, and then they're not honest with their potential partner until there's conflict, right?
Mm,
Like using your
mhm.
example, like I don't care if you go to church every Sunday, just don't expect me to go at all. And yeah, that's fine. Stay home, whatever. And then when you tired of me leaving the toilet seat, now all of a sudden we're introducing how much it irritates you that I don't go to church, right?
Like
And
these two things are not related.
right. And then, chemistry can't fix that because if you were honest in the beginning, you would say, well, you know what? It would bother me if you didn't go, right? And that gives you and the other person an opportunity to talk through it and see, well, is this going to be a deal breaker or not? Because you can save a lot of time if you know something's very important to you, and if the other person doesn't have it, it doesn't make them a bad person. It just means they're not the person for you.
Right.
And because I don't want to be guilt tripped into anything, and I don't want anybody to think that they have to do something out of guilt for me because my preference says I would like you to do X, whatever that is. But I think when you don't give the other person an opportunity to tell you how they feel about it, talk through it. I think anything can be resolved one way or the other if you talk through it and you're honest. But I think a lot of times people, it's a shiny new thing. You bring it home, you're happy, it looks nice, makes you feel good. So in the excitement of all of that, who wants to have a serious conversation about, what are the things that drive me? What are the things that I appreciate? What are the things that I don't necessarily care for? And then, be honest about the things that would bother you, or you would like to be different. Some things would bother you, but you would get over it. And some things it's like, yeah, I can't work with that. But when you don't have the conversation and then it comes up later after you've invested all this time and energy and resources into a thing, whatever that thing
Now you
is,
bitter.
now now I'm angry. You know what I mean? Like
Now I won't
I've been
fight.
I've been bamboozled. So I
Goodness.
just like I think and I don't even think it's an age thing at this point. I think I felt this way in my 30s, maybe late 20s, but I just feel like if you really want to win, if you really want to be successful, if you're honest and you communicate, I think you two people who want the same thing can figure it out. I think the thing is sometimes we feel like, oh, if I tell this person this, then they'll put me back on the shelf. And I don't want to be back on the shelf. So I'm going to see if I can adjust to what it seems like they're looking for. And then, as soon as I'm not happy with you, I'm bringing it up. You told me you like sports. Now you mad because I want to watch the game all the time. Like, which is it? So, you know, you don't want those kind of things driving your relationship when you could figure all that out early. I don't mean first, second, third date, but I mean there should be a series of conversations to determine, if the compatibility is real, because the compatibility is not real if people aren't honest. But then,
That's
if this is something that the chemistry can overcome, if there are some things that are kind of, in that gray area.
I'm glad you said that, and I think you're exactly right. When we're talking about compatibility, right? We're talking about you have to show up as your real self, right? A lot of times we're so busy showing up
Please
as
say that again. Please say
think
that
we're
again for
supposed
the
to
people in the
be.
back.
What'd you say?
Say that again for the people in the back, please. Show up as your authentic self.
Show up as your real dope ass self, because I feel like this, and I got to this point many years ago. You can't say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. And so with that, if someone's going to accept you, but the other thing is, put your good listening ears on. A lot of the times people are telling you exactly who they are. We're
Yeah.
just not listening. We're so mesmerized by, oh, he has the pearliest white teeth, and whatever vehicle he drives, or she got a big booty, or whatever that is, whatever your thing is, right? We're so mesmerized by these things. We're not actually listening to what people are telling us. And people will tell you a lot of stuff if you listen. And
Yeah.
so we feel like we got bamboozled, and they're like, nah, I really told you who I was.
Right. Right.
You weren't listening. Like you
You were
know,
paying
you
attention to the wrong thing.
you paying attention to the wrong thing. Oh
Yeah.
my God, he didn't take me to Cheesecake Factory on the first day. Girl, bye. Go to Cheesecake Factory and listen to what that man got to say.
Yeah. Yeah. You might learn something about them.
And I don't think like sometimes now I don't want to make no mistake. There are people out here who are running fabulous game. We're not talking about that.
Right.
But even the people who are running fabulous game, if you're paying attention, you're listening, you can kind of see some things and be like, I don't know. You said this that time, and now you said something different the other time, and you can kind of figure out like these pieces don't fit together in this puzzle. So I'm gonna be like SpongeBob, and I'm gonna head out because I don't got
Right.
time.
Right.
So, um,
Uh-oh.
okay, there you are. So I think that people a lot of times look at chemistry as just being like a physical attraction or sexual. Um, and and I don't think that it necessarily is. It can be, but I don't think that chemistry is purely physical and sexual. What you think about that, E?
No, I think chemistry is intimate. And intimate is definitely, I think intimacy is mental before it's physical. I
That
think
part.
once you get through the because you checking them out in the compatibility stage, right? So you know if you're physically attracted to somebody, and you know how you feel after you hug them that first time, right? But I think once you start sharing real stuff, and everybody shares real things at their own pace, but once you start finding yourself sharing more and more parts of you, and you're receiving more and more parts of them, I think that's when the chemistry kicks in because as you get to know a person better and you know what drives them, what motivates them. I think especially with men, I think we really um are challenged to be vulnerable in that way because at this stage we've either never had or we weren't able to sustain a really good relationship, right? It ended. So we're out here in the pool with all the pee in it. And you don't want to and maybe it's not a gender thing, so I apologize. But maybe I know for men it can be a challenge to get to the point where you do want to share because you've already got preconceived notions about what women want from you. So it's hard to say, oh, well, I'm struggling with this part of my life, or I've had situations where things didn't go well and it made me feel this kind of way. Like we have to be this strong black man. We have to be, the protector. We have these roles that we've told ourselves that we have to fill. And even in wanting to fill them and be that person, you still have feelings, you still have insecurities, you still have questions, but you want to be seen as somebody that your woman will be proud of and happy to be around and feel safe with and all of those things that we think that you guys are looking for. So you don't want to share something that you feel like she may hear it and think, mm, that sounds kind of weak. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because you don't, you're still getting to know a person. You're still figuring things out. So sometimes it can be a challenge, and you literally have that conversation with yourself. Like, do I want to share this? Is this going to make me look a certain way?
Mhm.
Going to feel a certain way about me if I tell her how I really feel about X, whatever that is. So you want the intimacy, you want that feeling because it feels amazing, but at the same time, you don't dive into it head first because again, at this stage in life, you've had there's people out there right now who know stuff about you that you would rather they not know about you because you're no longer in a relationship with them, right? But they still have all the information. So, it's not like when you break up with somebody, you could just pull all that stuff out of them and, they can't have it anymore.
Men in
So,
black they ass.
right. Like if you could do that, then I think that would probably solve a lot of things. But no, I think a lot of times people, men, just through conversations that I've had, it's tough because we want y'all to feel a certain way about us, and we don't know that sharing certain things would be in our best interest. So it can.
And I'm so glad you took the time to like express that, right? Because um I don't think that in a lot of scenarios, women that we're making a safe space for a person, a man that we may be interested in us to feel like they can be vulnerable, and it's vice versa. I don't want to put that all on men or women, right? A
Right,
lot of
right,
times, because we do struggle with the same thing, right? We struggle with like, you know, can I show up how I am, and like I promise you, I'm probably going to drop an F bomb within the first 2 to 3 conversations, and that is because I don't want you to be somewhere with me clutching my pearls. It's not that I don't know how and when to use the words that I choose to use, but I want you to understand that it is highly probable that I'm gonna drop an F bomb at some point. Now I ain't gonna go to your mama and your grandma's house and do that, but this is who I am and this is how I want to show up. And so if you clutching your pearls now, then we could probably be like, because that's probably a part of me that I'm not going to just be like, yeah, I don't, I'm not going to do it anymore. But we also need to make safe spaces for each other to show up as
right,
ourselves. We have these expectations of each other that um, you gotta be the protector, you gotta be the provider, you gotta, make a certain amount of money, you have to have your shit together, you have to do all of these things. And like you might have all of that, right? You got your resume is top, 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 I'm good. And then it's like, well, he chews with his mouth open. Well, damn, is that
right,
is that what it is? And for that person, maybe it is, but we have to make space and allow people, and not with malice, right? I feel like sometimes it's so hurtful and harmful, right? When we're like, we're not compatible. And I believe in determining those things early and saying it and be gone, right? Or whatever. And I had that conversation with someone. I remember this was many, 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 many years ago. Talking to someone, they were nice. I really liked talking to them. Great conversation. But there were some things that they were saying, and I was just like, that wouldn't work for me,
right,
right? And so one day I just said, hey, you know what? I realized that we're not compatible. It's not that I don't like you as a person. I just know that the way that you think and the way that I think on some fundamental things, not on, you know, should the bathroom have a curtain or not, like
right,
on some fundamental things, just this ain't gonna come together. This is not gonna work out. This is not gonna be what you might want it to be. And we became great friends, but I knew, like, in a relationship, that's not going to fly for me. And I think we also have to be real with ourselves about that, because sometimes we just want what we want and we don't
yeah,
realize, like, that person is probably not for you. They check all the boxes, but
right.
they're probably not for you.
No, I don't know. I don't honestly, I don't think you even need to let me make sure I don't screw this up. I think you definitely owe it to a person to let them know that we're not compatible, right? I don't think you have to explain it though, honestly, because I think if you think if you assume, right, because you have no other real way of knowing, but if you assume that person showed up as who they are, right, they shouldn't change. They should be who they are. They just need to find somebody who's looking for that package.
Looking for that package. I tell people
Yeah.
there's a power for every leg, and what people choose to do in their own relationships is their business. I don't judge that, right? If it works for you, you like it, I love it. It just wouldn't work for me.
Yeah. But yeah, and it's just a no. Like, because what you are, who you are is fine. It's perfect, actually. It's just not perfect for me. So you should continue to be the exact same person that you are. And then when your person shows up, y'all are going to be happy because you can be you in your entirety, and they like the package, so you don't have to worry about them, having buyer's remorse. And then y'all can make it make it happen. But I don't know that the why matters. It just doesn't, because you shouldn't
Oh
feel
no, I
because
don't, and I don't disagree with that. I don't think the why doesn't really matter. If we're not compatible, we're just not compatible.
yeah.
And some people, we talked about this before. Like some people are sitting around waiting for someone to give them closure that you're never gonna get. Like sometimes you have to close yourself and keep
Yeah.
on going, because sometimes the why, to your point, the why doesn't always matter. It's a nice to know, right? But I think at that point you're kind of trying to figure out where you went wrong. And if it maybe you did, maybe you did, maybe you just went wrong for that individual. It's gonna be all right, all green lights for somebody else.
Or maybe it won't, but I'm not here to help you with that. Like if you're I'll use something that's easily fixed. If you don't brush your teeth, right? I know that you don't brush your teeth. So if you need me to tell you the reason why I don't think we're compatible is because you don't brush your teeth often enough. I feel like there's somebody out there who doesn't brush their teeth either, and then y'all can yuck mouth it together, right? But
Right.
right? But now at some point, if enough people keep getting you the no signal, at some point you got to do you should be doing self-reflection anyway, but at some point you got to self-reflect and ask yourself, like, what is about me that's not that's keeping me off everybody's list, right? Like, there are a lot of people who don't like Beyonce, but there are a lot of people who do, right?
The
So she
whole
doesn't have that
BI.
problem. But there's some artists out there that the only people who like them are their close friends and relatives. So you got to figure out, like, what do I need to do to increase the number of people who I appeal to? And for some people, it's very small things. Some people, it's things that are going to take some real work. But either way, if I'm not your friend, then I don't feel like I have any real obligation to share that. Now, if you ask me directly, like, "Hey, I really need to know, just for the file, what made you say this is a no?" Then I'll tell you. But that's never happened to me, so I don't know. And I'm not saying it couldn't in the future. Well, I hope it doesn't in the future. But either way, if somebody came at me that way, I would tell them. But otherwise, it would just be a no. And then because they don't have to figure out how to please or appease me. That's not, I don't think that's how it works. I think you just find somebody who is okay with you in your entirety. They're willing to put up with they would need to put up with in order to enjoy the rest of you. Because that's what everybody does. I'm not perfect. I'm not close to perfect. So I don't have any misconception that I am, 99% great and you got 1% of me that you have to deal with. Everybody's got pretty much the same ratio, right? So you just got to find somebody who's comfortable with your formula. But I'm, because some people might not care that you don't brush your teeth every single day. And that's okay. But I'm saying that's okay, right? For them. Who am I to tell them that they should care about that? So so again, like
The
unless you
brush
ask.
your teeth analogy is taking me
Well,
out.
I'm using something that's, fairly, you know, easily fixed if you feel like it's something that you need to fix. But a lot of it is stuff, it's baggage, it's trauma, it's things that have happened in your past that has changed how you approach relationships. And those things are things you probably need to really work through either with a professional or just time will heal it, whatever the case may be. But again, like if the person that you're trying to be with isn't ready to wait that out or help you figure that out, you know, I think for men a lot of times we work under the assumption that women haven't really been told the truth very often by men.
Really?
So, oh, absolutely. You don't men don't tell you the truth, DeLacy. They don't. And it's because we want to bring home the shiny object. So we know that as long as we never tell you the things about you that we really don't care for, then the chances of that happening go up exponentially. You don't find out about it until after we're able to bring the shiny thing home. But during the whole process, like if I like everything about you except for that one little thing, and I'll even go back to brushing your teeth every day. Like I will put on a mask if I have to. But if after the shiny thing happens and you're like, hey, why didn't you call me? I'm not going to tell you because I'm not going to tell you, period. Because the first thing you're going to say, well, why didn't you tell me that at the beginning? And you don't want to have that conversation. But especially attractive women, they're not told the truth. Their men are not honest with them because that we feel like that would decrease the chances that we have of accomplishing the task at hand. So we
So
don't.
I
So
guess
women,
so let me jump in here when you said that, right? You said like especially attractive women and it's because you might diminish the chance of accomplishing the task at hand.
yes.
What what is the task at hand?
Well, the task at hand depends on the man. The task at hand could be like, I want that to be Mrs. Mitter, right? So, are you going to be Mrs. Mitter if I tell you off the jump that I think you're really mean and insensitive and you're not very like those are things that men will completely ignore in order to achieve the goal. And then you find out that I think you got some serious personality flaws after you become Mrs. Mitter. I mean, that's an extreme case, like waiting until after you get married. But whatever it is, I know people in actual serious monogamous relationships with women that they never told them the truth until they got to the point where they were in a relationship. And then it's like, well, I've been like this my whole life. Why are you just telling me all this stuff now? And the reason I didn't tell you is because I wanted to get to where we are right now. So I just dealt with it. But this is not like
So then would you say that those things weren't deal breakers, right? Right? Because if you spent all this time trying to attract the shiny thing,
Mhm.
then was the thing that you didn't care for or whatever, was it a deal breaker or no? Did you try to attract the shiny thing expecting later on that
Uh,
okay, well now that I got it, it's gonna change?
let me be clear before I answer your question. I'm not saying that the practice that I'm describing is a good idea. I'm not suggesting that this is how men should do the dance. Okay. So I think the expectation once you decide now's a good time to share these things, it's really to let the other I so let me back all the way up. I think the problem stems from um you could say that, well, clearly you didn't show up as your authentic self because you pretended that these things didn't bother you until we got here, wherever here is, right? So now they have every right to feel bamboozled because if you were honest from the jump, then we may not have gotten here, but I would have known exactly how you feel about whatever these things are.
Right.
And then I could have decided whether or not I wanted to put up with your stuff, right? So again, let me refer to bullet one. I'm not suggesting that that's a good way to enter into a relationship with a woman. So let me be clear. But be that as it may, it is something that happens oh so frequently. But I think the expectation is once you're in a relationship with a person and you start sharing and men start sharing these things with women, I don't know if the expectation is that they're going to change. I think there's a hope, but hope isn't a strategy. So there's that part of it. But I think sometimes people feel like, well, if I tell you that I think that you're inconsiderate and I give you examples, then you may become more thoughtful and considerate in the future. But if you feel like a person's inconsiderate and you still want to be involved with them, one could say you signed up for it. So you gotta deal with it. Which again leads me right back to bullet number one. You shouldn't enter into that type of situation knowingly and willingly. But a win is a win, and some people will take the win however they get it. And there are certain women that are looked at as a win. So you do it, and then you suffer the consequences, and you hope for the best later. Because if you believe people are generally good people, just fundamentally most people are good, then you feel like you like your chances. But you find out later that everything that glitters ain't gold. And then you got to deal with the person that you've invested time and energy and resources and intimacy in. And then you end up, bitter and angry because now she's still the person she was when y'all met. And she wasn't really trying to be a different person because y'all are in it. So now, so now you got to suffer the consequences. And you determine for yourself, was it worth it?
Jackie,
But
Jackie's in here. She says she's taking notes.
no, I mean,
No, no,
you
I
decide though.
definitely, I feel like a lot of challenges could be resolved if people would show up and be themselves and say what needs to be said early on. But I also feel like like the chemistry piece, right? We're attracted to someone. It's like magnets, right? We're like trying, it's our loins are coming together, and I do feel like that chemistry can overpower your good common sense and reasoning to this. We're not really compatible, right? And because the thing feels good, it's amazing, it's whatever it is, and now like common sense is going out of the window, and we're not really paying attention to all of the pink and red flags that are happening on either side, right? And so the you crack me up with the whole back to bullet point number
I
one.
mean,
But like when we get back to keeping the main thing, right? You got halitosis, sis, and bruh, or whatever, right? And that's a problem for me. And instead of and that's extreme, right? Because I think oh, that's a challenging thing to be like, come off the break and be like, your breath is rocking my eyebrows right now.
right.
But I do feel like there's some things that, and some things are Like brushing your teeth every day is something that a person could adjust to, right?
Right.
But I do feel like there's bigger things that we don't converse about and that we don't take into consideration or we don't communicate is a problem, right? Whether it be like, do we want to have children? How do we raise these children? I think people we get together. I know that's what I did. Like we got together. I like you, you like me, we're together, and all of these other things that were very important. But again, I mean, I think as you get older, these things should how we handle these things should change. And then I think sometimes we're not looking at the things that we're looking at the shiny object versus like what's inside that package, right? It's a beautiful package that is wrapped well and it looks amazing, but on the inside it's a fucking box of crushed glass. And what can you do with a box of crushed glass, like, except cut yourself?
Right.
so so we're so mesmerized with the shiny thing, in the outward appearance, that we're not really looking at what's inside. And that's not just about men or women. I think men do it with looks, and women do it with looks and other things, right? Stability or whatever that looks like for them.
Right.
And 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 we're not being honest, number one, with ourselves. And if you don't have to be for real with anybody, be for real with yourself.
Yeah.
Because like at the end of the day, if you want kids and the other person doesn't, is there negotiation here? Is there wiggle room here? Is this person going to change their mind? Because at some point that becomes a real situation and conversation. And we don't always think about like what are our deal breakers.
Yeah.
And not stupid stuff like, oh, she got bad feet, right? That's a deal breaker.
Right.
But real things, to the whole religion thing, right? I had someone tell me one time, they were like, they wanted a God-fearing woman. Um, their deal breakers were that she basically, if she wasn't a God-fearing woman, smoking was a deal breaker, and I can't remember the third one. Well, I was like, listen, I think the person was maybe like a deacon in the church. I was like, listen, I have spent many, many, many days in church, and I'm if you need me to be there every Sunday, I'm not gonna be there. I will go and I will support you going and all of that, but I may not want to go for 3 times a week. You know what I mean? I said I do enjoy a cigar occasionally, and that's just who I am. Oh, no, 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 that's fine. I said, well, that's not what you said,
Right. Right. Right.
right? That's not what you said. And so I don't want you to get down the road in 3 months, 6 months, and be like, well, I thought you might go to church with me on sometimes, and that's not what I committed to, right? I thought that you only smoked once a year. I never said that.
Right.
So let's be real with ourselves. Let's be real with each other, and be able to communicate. I think this all really, and I think in the overall Love and Legacy series, what we've been talking about is a lot of times things come down to awareness and communication.
That's
Period.
it. Yeah.
Like if I'm aware and I communicate, then it should be, and if we have that on both sides, then things should be better. But I think a lot of times we either walk in self-deception, um, like nobody's ever told you that you should brush your teeth every day and that your breath stink when you don't.
Right.
So, you got a little cavity back there that you need to go see about because something smells rotten
It's just going to get
in your,
worse.
and it's coming from your face. So, I I definitely agree that there's I think compatibility is very important. You know what's interesting to me though? Like sometimes, do you ever feel like people don't want to be compatible with who they're compatible with?
Um, I think I think people are just they're not honest with themselves about what they really want. I think they think about what they air quotes should want, should have, what their partner should look. Everybody has a picture in their mind what their partner, what their person looks like, what they smell like, how they look, how much money they make, where they live, what kind of car they drive. So because that person does not exist, well, that person only exists in their mind, right? Everybody is competing with a mental version of everybody's perfect partner. Everybody is, men and women. Men know exactly what their woman looks like, smells like, feels like, how she talks, all of that. We know all of that in our minds. So when we meet you, we're trying to figure out how much of that exists in you. And I think women do the same thing. I think. I don't
Mm.
know. I'm not a woman, so I'm guessing. But I think with that imaginary perfect person, I think there's a difference between how people hold their potential partner to those standards. I think there's a lot of talk about what's acceptable in a relationship, and I think a lot of I know this part because I've heard it from several different places. I think a lot of women hold on to things a little tighter for whatever reason, more than they should, especially when it comes to the economics part. Because there's just a really small percentage of men who make six figures. There just is. Like the math is what it is. And if that's something that is at the top of your list as opposed to in the middle or towards the bottom of your list, you are literally excluding like 90% of men. And when you do that, I think it builds resentment because you can't be wined and dined in a way that you feel like you should. And I'm not speaking for all women. I'm not saying all women suffer from this at all. I'm saying we all have a vision. Like there are men who want women to have certain measurements. All women don't have those measurements, right? So you have some women who try to fulfill that by having surgery because they feel like it's going to put them in a better percentage based on what men are looking for. But the reality is nobody should be trying to fit into somebody else's perfect vision. You should be looking at the things that really matter to you. How does this person treat me? Are they kind? Are they generous with their time? Do they treat my children the way I would like them to be treated? Do they treat my dog the way I would like? What are the things that matter to you? And how does this person show up? Because what your friends or your family members are going to think of your partner matters way more to people than I think some people are willing to admit. And okay, I don't know how successful they are in their relationships when that's something that really is important to them. But ultimately, I think a lot of times people value things that just aren't realistic. If you want your woman to be 5'7", 36, 22, 58, and then,
Damn.
whatever the dimensions in your perfect woman, whatever those are, like you're literally, going on Instagram and seeing things and thinking, oh, well, those are the dimensions that I want. Like, however you come to these visualizations, you come to them, but the reality is what you have access to and what you would like to be able to show off as your trophy wife are probably going to be two entirely different things. And I think a lot of times people, I'll bring it back to people and not just a gender, but I think a lot of times people kick people out of their dating pool based on things that just don't matter. And then they blame the people who aren't interested in them for being whatever they blame them for, but it's really because you don't fit their profile. It's not that there's anything wrong with them, but just like you have a profile and expectations, that other person has the same thing. So it's nothing wrong with them if you don't fit their criteria. But I do know from my male friends in conversations with them, a lot of them get a lot of negative feedback from women because they feel like um, the women are upset with them because they don't choose them. Just because a person fits your criteria doesn't mean they're going to choose you. And a lot of
Uh,
women feel
yeah,
like,
that's right. That's facts.
that's a an indictment of the men, but it's not. If I make six, and I don't want to get all divisive, but I'm just saying when I go to work, for example, and when you work for the government, everybody knows how much everybody makes because it's public information, right? So you can't pretend and you can't hide. And I know there are people who act a certain way towards certain people in the office because they know how much they make, right? So and vice versa. Like I know people who will walk by and not even make eye contact with people because they're like, you're a 6 or you're a 7. So I know the most you could make is X. And if I really want to know, I could just look it up and then it could tell me exactly how much you make. But I do know, for some people, they communicate with other people based on their salary. And I'm not going to say that's unfortunate because who am I to tell a person what their criteria should be? But I do know that there are
It
times
is
when people,
unfortunate though.
well, it
Um,
is, but if that's what something that's important to you, then I assume you have reasons, right? And they may, and I'm not privy to those reasons. And at the end of the day, you have to live with how you apply your filter. But I don't think people, I think people are very intentional. I think everybody does everything with intent, whether they want to admit it or not. And if you intentionally decide a person isn't going to be a potential partner for you based on whatever you base it on, you have to be okay when that happens in reverse. You have to be okay when it's the other
oh,
way around.
100%. 100%. Like a lot of the times when I listen to people, I feel like they live in an alternate universe,
Mm.
right? When it comes to dating and relationships. And when I say that, right, I mean like for real, like sometimes it's pure delusion. And and it, I feel like a lot of times everybody wants this story that is a fairy tale.
Yes.
And that's men and women, right? We want
Yes.
this, he wants the trophy wife who stands by his side no matter what, and blah blah blah, right? And then and she wants the man who, is the things and shows up as the things and does all the things and so on and so forth. And sometimes, like in real life, shit needs to make sense. And sometimes, like in your fairy tale, right, that that song by Anita Baker, right? When she says there's she talks about how her mother told her, the prince would show up on his horse and take her away and all of these things. And she was like, and when it came down to it, she's like, no royal kiss could save me, right? There was these things that she had spinning around in her head were not real.
Right.
And we don't always get to, like, some of these things are like, what's a must? Some things are nice to have and some things are
Mhm.
a must have, right? When I'm talking to people about real estate, like, you want to buy a house, okay, so what is a must have in your house? And what is a nice to have? And we get into these relationships, we have all these must haves. But the other thing is, like, if that thing showed up for you, would you be ready for it? Are you able to handle whatever this fairy tale fantasy land of a person that you have in your head? And that's men and women. If that thing showed up in front of you, would you be able to deal with that?
Right.
And that's where I feel like grace comes in. I feel like we don't give each other enough grace in getting to know each other and in relationships to say, I'm not going to be on my A game all the time. I remember someone invited me out, and it was, I go to bed early. So I was like, if I come out, I got on a hoodie, jeans, and Uggs. That's how I'm coming. And they were like, cool. All right, long as you know, don't expect anything above what I just mentioned to you.
Right.
Jeans, hoodie, and
Uh,
Uggs. That's how I'm showing up. My hair gonna be in a ponytail, a bun, I don't know, but I'm not I'm not doing the extras. I'm none of that. Like, we can meet up, we can, talk, cocktail, whatever, but this is how I'm coming. And they were like, that's cool. And we had a great conversation and all of that stuff. But we're so afraid to show up as ourselves and to be ourselves. And then I do feel like sometimes we do find a person that we are very comfortable with, and we can be that, our vulnerable selves, and we don't even realize, like, they're giving a lot of the things that we're looking for, or that we even not just looking for, but what you need, right? And what is compatible for you, and what gives you a level of balance. I said in the beginning, like, we think that compatibility is same. It's not. It's not always matchy matchy. It's gonna
no.
be like, hey, you like to cook, and I don't mind getting the groceries.
Right.
So, that we gonna eat.
Yeah.
Is what's gonna happen, right? And so we have to really think through these things when we're talking about whether it's just pure chemistry. And stop leading. I've said this for what feels like five ever, and I will continue to say it. The things that we're looking for, and the things that we're just like, this is what I have to have. Pay attention to what you're actually asking for, and are you ready to receive that? Because sometimes we don't even know what that looks like, right? I hear, one of the things that I hear a lot of times the women are saying is, they need this high earning man, right? But at the same time, I want him to be here all the time, and I want him to do this with me and do that with me. Girl, he out there trying to get it how he get it. And that may mean that he's not consistently available to be with you all the time. So is that really what you want? Is that really
Everything
what
comes
you
with
want?
a price.
It does. But also like men who are a lot, I see this a lot too. Like when you talk about the levels in the government, I met a guy and kept telling me what his level was in the government, and I couldn't relate because I'm not a government worker. So and I don't care. So like I really don't care. And he just kept telling me, you know, and I was just like stop leading with your wallet if you don't want her to try to get into your wallet. And women, stop leading with your body if you worried about him only wanting to get in your pants. Like lead with something else because let's
Yeah.
get to know each other. Let's figure out, are we compatible, or is this just chemistry, or is there a magical blend of the two that could make something amazing?
Yeah. I don't I wish just in general terms, um people would share the things that are truly valuable to them. Because you could value finances. That could be something that's very important to you, and that's fine. Like
Mhm.
you don't have to justify what's valuable to you to anybody. But I think a lot of times um people lead with what they think will get them the results that they're looking for, right? So you'll lead with your wallet. You'll lead with, you know, I have a guy friend who goes to the gym every 15 minutes, and he is the most shirt taken off in this dude I've ever met in my life. Like he can't wait for an opportunity to take a shirt off, right? Because he knows that there's a percentage of women who that really appeals to. Like he takes care of himself, he's in really good shape, blah blah blah. So, you know,
In public?
let the temperature get over 68 degrees, right? He's topless. So, you know, so people lead with what they think, you know,
Works.
makes the most sense bait wise. But if you led with things that are really valuable, important, and I say that based on the things that I value, things that I think are important. So if you lead with, you know, demonstrating what your personality truly is, right? Because you can be very financially well off, but be very extremely not generous, right?
Correct.
And you can be in the, I don't want to put a number on it because it seems, you can be not so financially well off, but extremely generous, right? You are willing to push all your financial chips in the middle, right? And to me, that is huge. Like
It is here.
you would be willing to invest pretty much everything that you have in a relationship financially to make it work. So just because a person has certain things, a woman could look incredibly just really put together. I'll just put it that way. But she might not ever sleep with you. She'll go to dinner with you, she'll hang out with you, but she might not ever let you touch it, right? So just because somebody has something that you like or value or feel is important
Doesn't
doesn't
mean you're
mean
gonna
they're
get
going
to
to
it.
see, doesn't mean they're going to share it with you, right? But I think a lot of times, you know, people want to be treated a certain way, they want to feel a certain way, and those things have nothing to do with your physical appearance or money. Nothing at all, right? Because you could date a rich jerk, right? You could date a super attractive bitch, right? So I think a lot of times, you know, people get hung up on things for whatever reason. They have their reasons. Their journey is their journey, and it got them to that point. But ultimately, the things that they are using as criteria to get to those next levels prevent them from meeting people who could really give them those things that they're looking for. But they don't give them an
Yeah.
opportunity because, you know, they're grade six. And in government terms, grade sixes don't make as much as grade 12s. So if I'm only going to talk to grade 12s, I got to deal with grade 12 people, and they might not be the nicest people.
Yeah.
So, I do think though, there are some people who have just really unrealistic expectations. But how you feel like the courting process should go, dating should go, you are entitled to it. That's one of the cool things about being a grown up. Your process is like your process is your process. So who am I
Process
to
is the
say
process. You're entitled to your opinion. They're like assholes. Everybody got them and they all stink. So
they all stink? But from afar, it just looks like I don't know how successful you're gonna be doing that. I mean, you could go
yeah.
fishing with a brick if you want to. I don't know how many fish you're gonna catch. But you could do it. You could stand by the edge of the water and throw the brick in and see what happens. But you know, now if you ask me, hey, you think I'm gonna catch any fish like that? Nah, I don't know. I don't think there's
I
gonna
don't,
be a
I
fish.
don't, I don't know. I've never seen it work.
Yeah, I've never seen that work. I've never seen
I've
anybody
never,
pull a fish
I've never
out
seen brick fishing work,
by
but
using the bricks.
do you?
But you
You
could be
might
the
be the
first.
first one to catch a fish with a brick.
You could be the first. But yeah, you might want to use some different kind of bait technique. But I don't know. I think it all goes back to, like you said, if you're honest with yourself about what you want, what you're looking for, what's important to you, what you really value, not what your girlfriends value, not what social media tells you, not what your mama told you, what you value as
What
far
you
as,
value?
yeah,
Yeah,
how somebody shows up for you, then I think once you've established that for yourself and you can communicate that with somebody who's interested in you, then you can figure out, like, are we compatible? And like you said, compatibility isn't the same. It's how do we complement each other? Like you said, I'll cook, you clean. I'll cook, you do the delivery order because ain't nobody trying to go to the grocery store. But the thing is, how do you two complete the
trying to go
circle?
get that stovetop stuff.
Look, you show up with stovetop, you win.
Oh, put a ring on it, girl.
You get a shot. You show up with some stovetop. Nah. But yeah, you find out if you're compatible and then you take it from there. But if your compatibility list involves stuff, because anybody, one way or another, if it's their goal, anybody can like get money. If you have the drive to get money, if that's your drive, if that's this thing that gets you up in the morning, legally or illegally, but the goal is to get money, then you can get it, right? So I'd like to think that there are other things that are more important. Um, but that's just me. So, just like I don't want anybody telling me that stovetop doesn't taste good. I'm not going to tell somebody else that, they shouldn't value being able to go to whatever restaurant they want when it's dinner time. So I just hope that at some point, people can just get to what really matters more sooner than later. Because then you can really make good decisions. Because once you start investing time and energy and effort, that's when people get hard feelings because
Yeah.
they feel like,
And I don't disagree with that. And that's why I definitely believe in like finding these things out early. I'm a rip the band-aid off type of person. I don't love when people are kind of insinuating things or innuendos. I'm going to ask you, what are we actually talking about? Because sometimes we need to make things clear and we need to make things plain so that we can figure out how do we navigate from here, because if where we are isn't where I want to be, let's talk about it and let's have this conversation, and then don't be afraid to have that conversation again later, because I think a lot of the times we don't we think that we had this conversation up front, and and we decided to move forward with whatever it is, right? Whether that be a situationship or a relationship or whatever. And then now we get a little bit more down the road and we're like, one of us is feeling differently, but we're not saying anything. And we have to communicate these things, right? Hey, you know what? I know that you said that this was just a jump off type of situation. Did something change, right? Because time does change things. Being around people, it can change how you feel about it. And
Yeah.
so we think that we had the conversation once and we're done. No, we need to revisit these conversations. And I don't want to say like daily or weekly, but like we do need to circle back to some of the things
Yeah.
and see if we're still in the same space as we were previously, so that we can make sure that we're moving in the right direction at the same time. And I feel like the I feel like that's compatibility, right? When we can have these conversations and we can move forward and so on and so forth. The chemistry, I feel like, can fizzle out, or it's an on and off thing, right? Because if somebody piss you off, you might be like, you look real cute, but I don't want to talk to you today or tomorrow or next week because you've done whatever the thing is that I don't love. And we really have to find that balance between, the chemistry and the compatibility, and first get real with yourself, right? Real honest with yourself and what you desire, what you need. And then be willing to be open and honest with that person as well.
Yeah, I agree. I know you got to check in, right? You got to check in and make sure things are moving the way that you want. But I'm determined the next relationship I'm in is going to be my last. Either it's going to work or I'm gonna have to kill her or something. But I will, um, I will always check myself first just to make sure that I'm
Before you
as good.
murder somebody, thanks.
Well, yeah, before I catch a case, but no, but to make sure I'm being a good partner, right? Because I can't have lofty expectations of partnership if I'm not holding up my end of it. But also, just asking like, what can make this better? Like, what could we do to make this better? And look at what those things are, and then say, all right, well, which of these three things can we do? What can we do today? What can we do in a month? But have real honest conversations about like this is where we are right now, and whatever the situation is, like you said, it's a situationship, it's whatever the ship is, but how do we make this better?
How do we steer the ship?
How do we steer the ship, right? And then look at what's on the table as far as things that could change to make things better, and then figure out, well, all right, well, which one can we absolutely do like right now? And that's probably going to mean somebody's got to change something, right? And then, like I was saying before, there are people who have resources that aren't generous with them at all, and there are people who have moderate resources, but who are like, I'm pushing all of them into the table because I want this to work, and if that's going to be something that will help, then I'm willing to do it. But if you're with the right person and it's not unreasonable, then they should be willing to say, okay, well then if I gotta brush my teeth every single day starting now, let's go get that super high powered, vibrating,
Sonic
rotating
toothbrush
sonic,
with a
and
water pick.
and go from there. Like there shouldn't be a reason for a person not to make a change that isn't unreasonable, right? If you truly want to be in a good relationship, then there shouldn't be anything that's reasonable that you shouldn't be willing to do. Now, you shouldn't feel like I'm the only one making the changes and you're the only one dictating the terms, because
Benefiting from them.
right. But I do think as you grow together and as you know each other more and more, I think there are things that both people can do willingly that they know the end result will put them in a better place, and you do it. So, but I don't think people do that. I think people just focus on, I don't like how this is going. What's my exit strategy, and go from there. Where the focus should be, how do we go from okay to good? How do we go from good to great?
And you said one thing that people like, they're focused on their exit strategy. I find a lot of the times people aren't necessarily, they don't want to exit, right? They want to hold on, they want to keep ties, and they want to, to be able to kind of return back, spin the block, whatever that looks like. And so they never necessarily like, hey, this is what it is, not gonna work, yada yada yada. And and I know, like, a lot of times there's a comfort level with an individual where you're like, oh yeah, I can be comfortable in this space with this person. But sometimes you really do need to make it clear, like, I this is not what I want. And I want to give you free, and I want free too.
I'm gonna give you, I'm gonna give you free. I'm
I'm gonna
sending you
give
back
you
to the
free.
streets.
Oh, like, and but sometimes people don't, they want to do that. They like having the option to return. And so sometimes you gotta, and not just for the other person, but for yourself, right? You gotta just be like, listen, this, this is not what we thought it was going to be, and it's not ever going to be what we thought it was going to be. Have a nice day.
Well, you
Or
could
no.
do that. You could. No, I think it depends on the willingness, because I don't think, let me make sure I get this right. I think that depends on the kind of ship you're on. If you're in an actual serious, committed, monogamous relationship, then you have to figure out, especially as you get older, you have to figure out how much you're willing to do to not just keep the ship afloat just so you can be on a ship, but how do you get the ship steered? I think you said that earlier, steered back in the right direction, right? If our destination is happiness, how do we pivot from the direction of unhappiness, which is where we're headed, back towards happiness? Now, if you just kind of whatever with somebody, you may or may not want to invest any sort of energy into figuring out how to make that better, right? But if you really are with somebody and you feel like this is my person, I think you do try to figure out, because I think what ends up happening is when you exit, people want to spin the block because they remember all the good things about being with that person. They have time away to sort of forget about why that person got on their nerves to the point where they didn't want to be with them, and they start reminiscing about all the good times. Like, remember we went to New Orleans and but then you making those miserable late night phone calls that you have no business making.
No, what I remember is we was at Cafe Du Monde and you acted an ass. That's what I
Right.
remember.
Well, that part, but it was fun. But if you really want it to work, and I don't mean at your expense. I don't think anybody should try to make anything work at their expense. But I do feel like if you sit down at the table and you say, "Look, this is where we're going. We are headed to Hotel Miserable. I don't want to go there. I don't think you want to go there. How do we get back in the direction where I think we both want to go? Now, if it means we need two separate ships, then that's what it is. But I don't think two people who want the same thing, meaning want to be in a direction towards happiness, I don't think they should have a problem figuring it out if they're both honest about what they want. Because if you tell me honestly, like, look,
I agree with that. And that's not what I'm referring to, is when, right, you got it's not a committed relationship. It's a situation where you're trying to get to know each other,
Oh,
and
okay.
maybe you've gotten to know each other a little bit more than, a getting to know you. But the one if one person realizes it, like, this ain't my judge, like, I don't want to do this, then give that person free and go on
Yeah.
about business, right? Instead of kind of leading them on or keeping ties to them so that you can have access when you want it. Or, yeah, like, a lot just purely not being honest. It's really about, let's how can we be honest with each other in this situation. Now, if the other person is going to be delusional and think that, your honesty isn't what it is, then that's on them. But at least you've done your part, and tried to, you know, be an actual good human being.
Yeah.
So
I think though when you cut ties with a person, like you should really just cut ties with them. I think a lot of frustration from men comes from you don't want to be with me, but you got a flat tire and it's midnight and you don't want to call AAA. Or hey, let's hang out because you hungry. I think a lot of men feel like there are women who will want to hang around them and be friends and have no intention of pulling them out of the friend zone because
I think
they
women feel the
want.
same way.
Yeah,
I know
oh, yeah,
I've definitely had where I feel like, hey, she not putting out, but eventually she's gonna come around. So I'm gonna keep coming around until she come around. Like, this is not this is not that. And so, I think it goes both ways. I've definitely I've heard the whole, oh, she just going out with him like for a meal. And I've and because I've had people say, oh, I'm not just gonna take you out for so you can get a free meal on me. And I've had to tell people, like, I've been feeding myself for a long time. I promise you, I'm not gonna not eat because you don't want to take me out. Like, what are we talking about? And then at the same time, though, on that flip side of, there is, you think that I'm eventually going to be naked with you because you keep coming around.
yeah. I mean, if you put yourself in harm's way, shame on you. Like I absolutely know men who feel like I'm gonna just wear her down. Like eventually she'll see I am magnificent and we will live happily ever after. And that's, I mean, I tip my hat to them because I don't have that kind of endurance or that ability to just shed rejection in a way that is okay. But I also have guy friends who are like, yeah, we can't be in a relationship, but you could come through, and I think that's a horrible thing to do to a woman that likes you, and all you want to do is sleep with them. So, or not even just that. Like, if you want to come through and like help me clean up or cook for me or anything that somebody who might be in some sort of relationship would do. Like I think it's a horrible thing to do to anybody. And it goes both, like you said, it goes both ways. Men have their way of getting relationship things out of women they don't want to be in a relationship with. So
Right. Why don't you come over and cook dinner? What?
yeah, right.
No.
And
Uh,
and there are women who are like, well, if I keep feeding them, then so they do it. And I don't want to excuse bad behavior by anybody, but I do think you know, you have to put yourself in harm's way. If you already told me we're not going to be in a relationship and you call me and ask me to do something that a person in a relationship does, then it's up to me to say no, right? It's up to me to
yeah.
say I don't think that's a good idea because I wanted to get with you and you don't want to get with me. So there's no reason for me to do, like, we're not going to be that kind of friend.
We're not doing this.
My friendship's not set up like that. I have plutonic friends that are women, and our relationship is completely plutonic, and that's how we roll. But I'm not trying to be plutonic with somebody that I was definitely trying to get with. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm not going to let you be the first person to do that, because every time we're around each other, I'm going to feel some kind of way. So why would I do that to myself? But I know dudes who do it because they feel like at some point she's gonna change her mind. But I don't blame her for asking. I tell my sons all the time, you should always ask for what you want. You should, because if you don't, then you definitely won't get it. But I think everybody should ask for what they want. But it's up to the other person to decide if they want to be, in this case, complicit. Like if you if you want to put yourself in that spot, then and because you feel like stuff is going to turn, you can't blame the person asking.
We just turn ourselves into the hands up emoji.
Yeah, because hey,
Well, listen, I promise you, the Love and Legacy series, relationship talk, is not something that after we did the last one, I was definitely not looking forward to doing it. But I think there's a place for it. I think when you set the tone, and my biggest challenge has always been that I feel like what I hear and what I see out here is very divisive, a lot of the times, and we are, we're trying to make the other gender listen to us,
yeah,
and it really is about a coming together, and it's also about coming together with a like-minded individual. There is a pot and a lid that match, right? You
yeah.
just sometimes you gotta realize, like, you ever go in your pot closet in your pot cabinet, and you can pick up the lid and look at it, and it kind of look like it could fit, but once you look at it again, you're like, that don't go together.
Nope.
And we spend too much time sticking our pots on lids or our lids on
No
pots that
pods.
we that we just knew, like, that it didn't go together. And so, I was talking to, Coach Ava Laura. She was on our first episode. Um, she's a celebrity, love and relationship coach, and I was like, we just need to do a series called the Plus One series, where, you know, because for me, I my plus one, I have events and weddings and so on and so forth that I have to go to. Like, who's that person that you could just be like, okay, every time I know it's my person. You know what I mean? But you gotta get through all of the foolishness and the fuckery that's out here in these streets.
Yeah, yeah.
in,
It's out
in,
here.
or- in order to get to the plus one. So I do appreciate you jumping in. As usual, it is great. We featured on tonight Malamia Mezcal. So, I made a, Mezcal Paloma on tonight. Mr. Mitter was over here sipping on some Uncle Nearest because it is Black History Month and we root for everybody is Black. Not that we don't want anybody else to win, but we definitely want us to win.
Absolutely.
So, this is this is this has been actually very, enlightening, and I definitely appreciate you for showing up, and being a part of Sipping in Soul Speak again. I thank you for being such a great friend and guest host.
Anything for you. I will. I can't drink anymore, otherwise I won't go to work tomorrow. But I will raise my glass.
That's what I like to hear. Say anything for you. Uh,
We good plutonic friends.
We good platonic friends. So, guys, thank you for joining Sippin' and Soul Speak. We are here every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on YouTube. And I want you to continue to be dope because you are dope on purpose. See you soon.